As I'm sure you know, sampling is expensive and slow, and most brands need months and thousands of pounds just to get one style right. But brands like Tommy Hilfiger now design their entire collections digitally first. They make decisions based on virtual samples before ordering fabric or fittings, cutting months from development and slashing waste. Physical samples can drag timelines and blow budgets. Digital sampling isn't perfect either, but when used right, it cuts time and cost dramatically. Today, I'm breaking down the real costs, the pros and the cons, and what your brand need to consider before choosing. The best part about physical samples, they are real. You can hold the fabric, test the fit on the model, check construction details. That's why most brands still rely on them as they should. But here's the reality. Most brands go through 3 to 5 rounds of physical samples per style. Each round takes 4 to 6 weeks, including factory lead times, corrections, and shipping delays. Each sample can cost £200 to £800 depending on complexity, materials, and location. If you're working with overseas suppliers, add shipping, customs, and VAT. But cost isn't the only issue. If you don't have a reliable manufacturer, you'll waste even more time and money chasing the right sample. Some brands go through 5, 6, even 7 rounds because they're not getting what they asked for. Miscommunication, pattern issues, wrong fabrics. It all happens all the time. And every extra round eats into your launch timeline and your budget. On top of that, there is a hidden cost. Project delays, long feedback loops, and all the back and forth through emails and calls. You lose momentum and your team burns hours chasing fixes. This whole process slows everything down, from development to marketing, and leaves you less time to react to the market and try new ideas. Digital sampling using tools like Clo 3D allows you to create realistic 3D garments and adjust them instantly. You can test the fit, fabric behavior, and color without physical materials or shipping. This speeds up feedback loops. Teams can collaborate remotely and make decisions faster. Of course, it's not free. Glow license start around 50 per month. For full tools, team brands usually spend over 1,000 monthly. Still, it's a fraction of physical sampling cost when you factor in shipping and delays. Also, there is a learning curve. Building avatars, fabric libraries, and training takes time, but once set up, digital sampling streamlines your whole workflow. For example, we worked with a brand that was producing 4 to 5 physical samples per style. After implementing digital sampling with Glow, they reduced it to just 2. The result? Shorter timelines, fewer shipping costs, and more confidence at each approval stage. Let's break down the time actually takes to move from one sample to the next and how digital sampling changes the game. So, physical sampling rounds typically take 4 to 6 weeks each. This includes factory production time, often 2 to 3 weeks per sample, shipping time, so domestic or international, can add 1 to 2 weeks, internal review and feedback cycles, easily 1 week or more. Multiply that by 3 to 5 rounds per style, and you are looking at 12 to 30 weeks or 3 to 6 months per style just in sampling. In reality, this delays your whole collection timeline and limits your ability to respond quickly to market trends. Now, digital sampling. So, using software like Clo 3D changes this drastically. The same adjustments, fit tweaks, color changes, fabric swaps can be done in hours, sometimes even minutes. Rarely though. Initial garment creation and simulation take a few hours per style, let's say 3 to 5. Adjustments based on feedback can be rendered and shared within a day, easily. No shipping or waiting for factory production. Teams can review, comment, and iterate remotely without delays. Instead of weeks per round, you get same day or next day revisions. That's the dream, right? Let's talk about costs. We will compare 3 approaches: physical sampling, digital sampling in-house, digital sampling outsourced to a studio or freelancer. First, physical sampling. Most brands do, as we discussed earlier, 3 to 5 rounds of physical samples per style. That's standard because each round is meant to fix the fit, construction, or fabric issues. Each sample costs between 3 to 600 depending on complexity and where you produce it. If we multiply that by 3 rounds, the bare minimum for most brands you're looking at is 900 to 1,800 per style, just on samples. Push it to 5 rounds and that climbs to 1,500 or 3,000. And that doesn't include shipping cost, which can add 50 to 100 per sample, especially if you're working with overseas factories. Plus, there is the hidden cost of delayed production, launches, and added time your team spends coordinating with factories and fixing issues. Now, let's compare that to digital sampling. Digital sampling is a different approach. You create a realistic 3D garment that you can tweak instantly, but here's the reality. Most brands still need at least 2 physical samples, one for fit and one for final pre-production sample, to confirm everything before going to mass production. So in digital workflows, the cost breaks down like this. You pay for your digital development, either in-house or outsourced. Then you produce, let's say, 2 physical samples at 300 to 600 each. If you do digital sampling in-house, your digital cost is basically zero, assuming you have your own 3D team. You just pay for the 2 physical samples, so 6 to 1,200. Add shipping for those 2 rounds and you get around 700 to 1,500 per style. If you outsource the digital part, expect to pay between 250 to 500 for the mockups and the physical samples and shipping, and the total cost is about 950 to 2,000 per style. Important note, we're not including software licenses, hardware, or training costs here. Those are investments your brand makes upfront and amortizes over many styles. So some optional costs to consider is Clo 3D license, team training or one-on-one guidance, and hardware. If you are serious about bringing 3D in-house, these are foundational, but many brands start with outsourcing and build internal capacity over time. It's not all or nothing. So let's talk about scaling up. Say you are making 5 styles. Physical sampling, 3 rounds each, might cost you 4 to 15,000. With digital sampling, that might drop to 3 to 7,000, including physical samples and shipping. What this means: physical sampling adds up fast, both in cost and time. Digital sampling cuts down the number of physical rounds you need, saving you thousands and speeding up your process. You can either build your own team and keep digital sampling in-house or outsource it to a freelancer or studio. Either way, digital sampling reduces risk and gets you to the market faster. The bottom line is physical sampling isn't wrong. It's just expensive, slow, and harder to scale. Digital sampling done right doesn't remove the need for physical altogether, but it reduces how many you need, where you use them, and how confident you feel before you make one. That's the point. Brands we work with often save 30 to 50% on sampling cost within the first season. And those savings can increase when you consider faster approvals, fewer reworks, and the ability to test more designs without increasing cost. It's not just about cost or speed. Digital sampling also changes the type of feedback you can work with. With physical samples, you can check exact fabric, hand feel, see stitching up close, and fit the garment on a live model. That's important for final approval, but every revision takes weeks. With digital samples, you can explore more variations without extra physical rounds. Need to test 5 colorways, try a different fabric drape, or just adjust a neckline, for example. You can see it instantly and share high-quality visuals with your team or buyers before committing to production. Functional value also comes into play. The real power comes from combining those two, using digital for exploration and refinement, then physical for validation. It's not about choosing one or the other. Too many brands treat this like an either or decision. It's not. The most efficient workflows use both in tandem. Think of digital sampling as your fast filter. You'll work through ideas quickly, refine them visually, and only move the best option into physical production. This means fewer physical samples, faster launches, and lower cost without losing the assurance that comes from seeing and touching a real garment before signing off. One of our recent clients, a mid-sized women's wear brand based in London, used to create 4 physical samples per style. The sampling budget was around 8,000 per collection, and they often struggled to hit launch deadlines. After switching to a digital-first workflow, they designed the initial range entirely in 3D, collaborated closely with the buying team using only digital visuals, reduced physical sampling to just 2 prototypes per style for final fit approval. The results were clear. Sampling cost dropped by nearly 40%, development timelines shortened by 8 weeks. They freed up budget to invest in stronger marketing campaigns. Plus, they launched pre-order campaigns using digital visuals, generating revenue before any physical samples were made. This case shows that cutting physical rounds doesn't just save money, it creates space for smarter, faster, and more flexible decision-making across the brand. So, my final thoughts. Physical samples aren't going away, and they shouldn't. But if you're relying on them alone, you're locking yourself into longer timelines, higher costs, and less flexibility. Digital sampling gives you agility. It helps you explore more ideas, fix issues earlier, and reduce the number of expensive, time-consuming physical rounds. The winning formula? Digital for speed, physical for certainty. PVH Corporation, the parent company of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, reports that 3D has cut their design timelines by up to 30%. McKinsey predicts that digital sampling could save the fashion industry over $2 billion a year in waste and unnecessary samples. These numbers show that 3D isn't just a trend, it's quickly becoming the new standard. If your brand is ready to cut sampling time, reduce cost, and make faster design decisions, start exploring digital sampling now. You don't have to go all in from day one. You can begin with just a few styles, test the process, and scale from there. If you want help setting up a hybrid workflow or outsourcing your digital sampling, that's what we do at SENK Design. Get in touch and let's see how much time and money you can save on your next collection.